Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely wild. Literally, we are unpacking a fascinating chapter on one of the most incredibly diverse natural landscapes on the entire planet, India's biosphere. We're going to explore how shifting climates paint the landscape with vastly different ecosystems and uncover the vital human efforts working behind the scenes to protect them. Let's jump right in.
Okay, let's lay out our mental map for this explainer. Here is our agenda. 1. Defining vegetation. 2. 5 forest types. 3. The push for conservation. 4. Forestry for the people. 5. India's incredible wildlife. And finally, 6. Protecting the biosphere.
Section 1. Defining natural vegetation.
Before we can fully appreciate the immense scale of India's ecology, we got to figure out exactly what makes its plant life so unique. To kick things off, I want you to picture this. Imagine you're taking a walk through a perfectly planted, manicured mango orchard. Nice, right? Now swap that out and imagine trekking deep into an overgrown, totally wild jungle. What is the fundamental difference between the two? I mean, how do you differentiate between natural and planted vegetation when sometimes you're looking at the exact same species of tree?
Well, the answer really lies in its history. True natural vegetation is defined by a deep historical relationship with its environment. It's a plant community that has been left completely undisturbed over a very long period of time. Because there's no human interference, these individual plant species get to organically adjust themselves to the local climate and soil conditions as fully as possible. It's just nature, perfectly optimized for its exact coordinates.
And this brilliantly illustrates that concept, because India experiences such immense variations in climate and soil, from the freezing Himalayan heights to the superhumid Western Ghats and those arid deserts in Rajasthan. The resulting natural vegetation zones across the country are incredibly distinct. The climate truly dictates the canvas. It's like a giant ecological puzzle.
Section 2. India's 5 forest types. Based on those climatic regions, Indian forests can be broadly categorized into 5 main groups. First up, we have the majestic tropical evergreen and semi-evergreen forests. You're going to find these thriving in warm, deeply humid areas, like the western slopes of the Western Ghats and the Andaman Islands. Because they get soaked with a massive annual rainfall of over 200 centimeters, these forests are insanely dense. We're talking canopies of highly prized trees like rosewood and mahogany towering up to 60 meters tall. That's like a 20-story building. And yeah, they create these lush layers that stay green all year round. Moving right along, we encounter the tropical deciduous forests. You might know these as the monsoon forests, and they are by far the most widespread forest type in India. But unlike those evergreens, when the dry season kicks in, these trees completely drop their leaves. The whole landscape transforms into what almost looks like a vast grassland, just dotted with naked tree branches.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how we categorize these widespread deciduous forests based purely on water availability. On one side, we have the moist deciduous forests. These get 100 to 200 centimeters of rain and are packed with teak and salt trees. On the flip side, getting just 70 to 100 centimeters, are the dry deciduous forests. That subtle shift in rainfall completely alters the dominant trees you'll find, introducing species like tendu and pallas.
Our third type is a complete 180 from those towering evergreens we saw earlier. Welcome to the tropical thorn forests. Found in semi-arid regions getting less than 50 centimeters of rain, think parts of Rajasthan and Gujarat, this vegetation is mostly leafless, scrubby tussocky grasses and thorny trees like babool and wild date palms. It's a really harsh environment, but man, the plants here are absolute survivors.
Number 4 takes us way up into the mountains with montane forests. Up here, it's not just about the rainfall. It is all about altitude. As you climb higher and the temperatures drop, the vegetation totally shifts. You go from deciduous foothills, up into the temperate shola forests of the south, all the way to towering alpine pines, silver firs, and junipers high in the Himalayas. Climbing these mountains practically mimics a journey toward the Earth's poles. Finally, we hit the coastlines to find our 5th type, littoral and swamp forests. These are primarily made up of salt-tolerant mangroves. These fascinating plants thrive right in the mudflats and tidal creeks. And it is absolutely vital to note just how important these are. Get this, India holds roughly 4,992 square kilometers of this ecosystem. That is an astounding 7% of the entire world's mangrove forests.
Section 3. The push for conservation.
So, having seen the incredible natural beauty of these 5 forest types, we now have to confront the human element. how do we actually protect them? Historically, these forests were heavily exploited, especially by the British, for railway construction and commercial plantations. Recognizing that damage, the Indian government began laying down some serious legislative milestones to reverse the trend. It kicked off with the initial forest policy in 1952, moved to the landmark Wildlife Act of 1972, and sparked massive, highly targeted initiatives like Project Tiger and Project Elephant.
So the absolutely crucial point to remember here is the number 33. Under the modified forest policy, the government set an incredibly ambitious target to bring 33% of the country's total geographical area under forest cover. And this isn't just about planting a few trees. It's a vital, calculated metric required to maintain national environmental stability and restore those deeply disturbed ecological balances.
Section 4. Forestry for the people. But protecting forests isn't just about the trees themselves. It is profoundly linked to the people who interact with them every single day. For a vast number of tribal communities, the forest is not just a resource, it's their ancestral home, their livelihood, their whole world. They possess this age-old knowledge of how to live in true harmony with nature. So modern conservation recognizes that, rather than treating tribal communities just as collectors of minor produce, they absolutely must be empowered as growers and active participants in conservation.
To really broaden this participation, the National Commission on Agriculture laid out a social forestry strategy back in 1976 that integrates tree growing into literally every level of society. It includes urban forestry for city greenbelts and parks, rural forestry, which mixes farming with tree raising on community lands, and farm forestry, where individual farmers are given seedlings to grow trees on the margins of their own property. It basically makes conservation everybody's business.
Section 5. India's incredible wildlife.
Thanks to those wildly diverse ecosystems we covered earlier, India is home to an estimated 4 to 5% of all known plant and animal species on Earth. And while many of those species have faced the brink of extinction due to industrial advancement and historical hunting, there are some massive conservation wins to celebrate. 3,682. No way, right? That is the Indian tiger population count as of 2023. Thanks to the relentless efforts of Project Tiger, initiated way back in 1973, India now harbors more than 75% of the entire global tiger population. It is a stunning triumph of dedicated conservation.
Section 6. Protecting the biosphere. Let's see how this all builds into the big picture. To ensure these victories actually continue, we have to look at the macro-level strategy to protect entire interconnected ecosystems. India has established 18 massive biosphere reserves, and 12 of them are internationally recognized by UNESCO. We're not just talking about small parks here. These are vast areas, like the Nilgiri, Nanda Devi, and the Sundarbans, that protect sweeping, representative ecosystems spanning both land and coast. They're designed to protect the entire food chain, the genetic diversity, and the natural heritage all at once. Which brings us to our final thought. This chapter leaves us with a really powerful reminder. Conservation can only be achieved when every individual understands its significance and contributes his bit. We've seen the incredible forests, the legislation, the wildlife, and these massive reserves. But the ultimate variable in the survival of India's biosphere is us. So I'll leave you with this question. Having seen the immense scale and fragility of this natural balance, what small bit will you contribute today to ensure it thrives for tomorrow? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.